global cooling, global warming, global destruction, nuclear war. The prophecies of doom and gloom make the headlines, don't they? Well, I'll be 63 years old this June. I've been hearing that since I was born. I was raised up during the Cuban Missile Crisis, so they had us ducking and covering in the kindergarten and first grade, telling us how the Russians were going to take over the world without ever firing a shot, but yet having us scared to death of a nuclear war. And actually, it looks like to me that communism is working very hard at taking over our nation through subversion, maybe. Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. It just looks like that could possibly be happening. So maybe it will come true, and maybe it won't. But the point of this video is there have been profiteers, people prophesying about doom and gloom since I was born and before I was born. And these things make the headlines. And I'm making this video today for you young people because maybe sometimes you think as I did when I was younger, what's the point in trying to be somebody or do something or make something great? The world is not going to be here anyway. Look at this. They're predicting all these disasters and terrible things. But I'm here to tell you, you will probably be here at 63 as I am. And even if you're not, it does no good to worry about it. Don't listen to these predictors of doom and gloom. They have their own motives and agenda, and it's usually not for your best interests. Here's one here, already too late. Dire famine forecast by 1975. Los Angeles Times writer. Well, let's just see. Los Angeles, it's already too late for the world to avoid a long period of famine, a Stanford University biologist said Thursday. I won't use the guy's name. We'll just say Paul said the time of famines is upon us and will be at its worst and most disastrous by 1975. Let me see. I was just reading the other day that the average weight of an American woman here in 2022 is 170.6 pounds. And the average weight of an American man is 190.7 pounds. Must be that famine, huh? Well, I'll tell you what, I don't know how we're making it. And what is the obesity rate here in the U.S. for women? 70 to 75%. And for men, I'm sure it's up there too. But yet, it's too late. It's already too late. This dire famine is forecasted by 1975. Gee, I guess we must have missed that. I wonder how that happened. He said, the population of the United States is already too big. I think we've heard some of that depopulation and some of this, the population, we're overpopulated. Okay. And these are the experts, the scientists, the people who know. We've seen how listen to the science has served us over the last 2 or 3 years, obviously. Okay, that birth control may have to be accomplished by making it involuntary and by putting sterilization agents into staple foods and drinking water. Think about this. The testosterone level has dropped severely in the Western world, in the U.S. specifically. Could it have something to do with the food? Have you ever read what's on the label of your foods? You probably better not do that. You may be discouraged, unless you can afford to buy organic food or grow your own. Okay, staple foods and drinking water, and that the Roman Catholic Church should be pressured into going along with this with routine measures of population control. Well, this man said experts keep saying the world food supply will have to be tripled to feed the 6 or 7 billion people they expect to be living in the year 2000. I think we have about 7 billion people right now, and we got plenty of food. Actually, a little shortage of food supply may help us here in the Western world. Wouldn't you agree? Let me know what you think in the comments. That may be possible theoretically, but it is clear that is totally totally impossible in practice, he said. This man spoke at a science symposium at the University of Texas, a group of experts who can predict the future. The text of his speech was made available here. Okay. We'll pass up his name. His opinion is no longer any use trying to avoid the coming world famines. The best thing to do now is to look past the time of famines and hope to have a second chance to control world population sometime in the future. At the moment, it is shockingly apparent that the battle to feed humanity will end in a rout, this man said. He said we have to hope that the world famines of the next 20 years will not lead to thermonuclear war and the extinction of the human species. 20 years, let me see, that was in 1975, 85, 95. So, according to this guy, we're dang lucky to be here. How many years later? Anyway, we must assume man will get another chance, no matter how little he deserves one, he said. There's the expert prediction. Dire famine by 1975. Here it is, 2022, and we have an obesity problem in the world. Now, there are some people starving in the world, but it's not because we don't have enough food. It's because we got too much greed. Anyway, it's just my opinion. Let me know what you think in the comments. Okay, what's this one here? Full of pollution. Sees lack of time. By the time we have enough evidence. Okay, here we go. Here's another doom and gloom. 1969. Everyone will disappear in a cloud of blue steam by 1989. Oh my God, that blue steam, that's a killer, isn't it? Oh, I see some coming over the horizon. Here we go. Foe of pollution sees lack of time. This is the New York Times, 1969, August 10th. Asserts environmental ills outrun public concern. Now I'm reading this for you young guys who are worried about what's going to happen in the future. When you have these people predicting the end of the world, global warming or global cooling, whatever it happens to be, whatever the agenda is at the time. I don't know why they do it. I don't know why. We got this Greta Thunberg. She's all into global warming. She's what, 19 or 20 years old? And I'm sure she's sincere and believes in what she's doing. But she needs to look back through the pages of history. The scientists and the experts that she's listening to are the same scientists and experts that were predicting these things back 40, 50, 60 years ago. And let's see what another one said. Okay. Asserts environmental ills outrun public concern. Palo Alto, California, August 5th. And this was back in, let me see, let's get the year. August 5th. Okay. 1969. The trouble with almost all environmental problems, says this man, the population, I don't want to badmouth these guys because I believe they believed what they were, well, maybe they did. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt and think that they believed what they were professing here. The population biologist is, by the time we have enough evidence to convince people you're dead. So what they're saying is we should believe what they say and take severe actions on that, just like getting rid of all the combustible engine cars before we can, how do I say, replace everything practically with electric. Do you know how much coal we burn in the United States? How much coal makes the electricity? I think it's like 25 to 30%. Coal that makes the electricity that runs your car that doesn't put out combustible poisons into the air. I was talking about Greta Thunberg. I'm sure she's sincere about what she's believing, but she needs to look back through history and see that this has been going on for a long time. But I was her age at one time. I knew everything. And people like me and the older people didn't know much of anything. I was going to save the world, or at least my world around me. Now I've lived long enough to know that there's so much that I don't know that I will never know everything. And hey, don't believe me. Research this yourself. See if there aren't, or see if there haven't been predictions of the end by environmental this and environmental that. The ozone layer. We may not get to that one today, but that was going to disappear. Oh my God, that was a big thing, I think, back in the 70s. Hole in the ozone. Oh, it's going to be burned out by, well, at least 30, 40 years ago, but yet here we are. It must have healed itself. Yeah. Okay. While this doctor is gathering that evidence in his laboratory at Stanford University, he is wasting no time trying to convince people that drastic action is needed to head off what he foresees as a catastrophic explosion fueled by runaway population growth. Gee, there's that overpopulation again. A limited world food supply. Once again, 1969, we're not going to have enough food. But yet, the majority of the population is obese. Okay. A limited world food supply and contamination of the planet by man. Well, we are contaminating this planet. I will agree with that. And that continues daily. Not so much the individual as the big corporations. Or maybe it's all of us. We are like the cancer of the world. And I'm a firm believer that the planet is a living organism, just like we are. And all that we are comes from the planet. And all that we are goes back to the planet. We can't get away from that. So we do need to take better care of our planet. I was watching a video the other day where this river was just like clogged up with millions and millions of plastic bottles. And of course that all flows out into the ocean. So we are destroying ourselves slowly but surely. But we have to be wise about how we take care of these problems. Not in drastic, oh my God, we're all going to be gone, eliminated, or deleted in, 20 years? We must realize that unless we are extremely lucky, everybody will disappear in a cloud of blue, a cloud of blue steam in 20 years. Well, that's worth repeating. And that was in 1969. So by this expert opinion, by 1989, we should all be gone, but there would be a nice cloud of blue steam here. Wouldn't that be beautiful? Okay, the 37-year-old scientist said during a coffee break at his laboratory, oh yeah, give me another coffee. Oh, here's one. Let's enjoy this before the blue steam comes. The situation is going to get continually worse unless we change our behavior. Now, I will agree with that 100%. Unless we change our behavior and take care of the planet, it is going to get worse. But it's probably not going to happen tomorrow or the next day, or in 20 or 30 years or 50 years, maybe in 1,000 or 2,000 years. We will eventually destroy ourselves, but we will never destroy the planet. We may mess it up for a while, but long after we're gone, it will eventually start to grow again. This planet has been here for billions of years, at least I believe that's what they say, and I do buy that. And it will be here probably billions of years after we're off of it. Let's move on. Let's see who else predicted doom and gloom and disaster to put fear into the hearts of our population. What's this? Oh, okay. The Boston Globe. Thursday, April 16th, 1970. I was 10 years old. Scientist. There's that science again. And we got to believe the science. Yes, remember that. Predicts a new ice age by the 21st century. Air pollution may be obliterate. Oh, no. Air pollution may obliterate the sun and cause a new ice age in the first third of the next century. If population continues, once again, they are harping on that population, but yet the population has grown and we have plenty of food, which is evident. Just look around you. Except for in countries where they're not getting the food, but there's more than enough food to feed everybody in the world and probably make everybody overweight or obese. If we could just get the food to those people. But that's not happening. Okay. And the Earth's resources are consumed at a present rate. A pollution expert predicted. A pollution expert. I never knew there was such a thing as a pollution expert. But here it is. It's got to be real and true. It's in the Boston Globe. James P. Lodge Jr., oh, I used that name. Sorry, James. Also warned that if the current rate of increase in electric power generation continues, oh, here, what's this? What? I'll read on. He's bad-mouthing electric. The demands for cooling water will boil dry. So he's saying, this guy says that, warned that if the current rate of increase in electric power generation, so this guy is saying, I might be reading this wrong, but that electric generation is a problem. But we all want electric cars now. We should go to electric because it's cleaner, right? That's what they're telling us now, the experts, the scientists. Cooling water will boil dry the entire flow of the rivers and streams of continental United States. So according to this expert, if we go electric, we're not going to have any more water. Incredible. Could it be that these experts sometimes are wrong? Nah. It's the science. Trust the science. Trust the science. Okay. Looking into his smoggy crystal ball. Yeah, I'm looking, let me see. It's a little smoggy in there, but hey, let me just take a wild guess. Okay. Lodge also warned that by the next century, the consumption of oxygen, hey, you need to stop breathing, okay? Stop it. Just kind of slow it down a little bit. What are you taking, about 10, 15 breaths a minute? Let's see if we can't get that down to about 8. And I'll tell you what, we're going to have the oxygen patrol going around, and then we're going to put digital breath counters on you because you've got to cut back on taking in that oxygen. Also warned that by the next century, the consumption of oxygen in combustion, oh, it's not you breathing, but if you stop your breathing, that'll help. Processes worldwide will surpass all the processes which return oxygen to the atmosphere. Better quit cutting those trees down. And I do agree with that. We need to kind of back off on that a little bit, or at least plant more. How about this? How about for every tree we cut down, we plant a tree or a couple trees? A scientist at the National Center for Atmospheric Research in Boulder, Colorado, said the nation states, with the exception of Alaska and Hawaii, are already consuming more oxygen than their own green plants replace, and that we are importing the balance from the neighboring oceans. Come on, oceans, give us a little more oxygen here. And of course, we're polluting that too. Speaking, this man, I don't want to use his name, speaking at the Institute of Environmental Sciences, there's that word again, sciences, at the Sheraton, Boston, said 3 factors could prevent these disasters. Get rid of all the population. No, that's what he says. Population control. A less wasteful standard of living. Yeah, I agree to that. We probably waste enough food here in the Western United States to feed the starving people of the world. Something else. Okay, population control. There's that in every article. Population control. A less wasteful standard of living and a major technological breakthrough in the way man consumes the Earth's resources. How about a major breakthrough in the way man's greed inspires him and, motivates him to consume the Earth's resources to make more money? How about that? And I love money, don't get me wrong. And I use man's resources to make money. Okay, gee, wasn't that exciting? Well, let's go this one here. 1970, America subject to water rationing by 1974 and food rationing by 1980. Well, I know we are poisoning the water, that's for sure. Food rationing by well, you know what? I think this was probably right on course. Had we rationed food in 1974, we would not have this epidemic of obesity in the West. So hey, maybe this guy's right on track. Let's see what he has to say. And this article was in Daily Redlands Facts. This isn't just an opinion, these are facts. Redlands, California, Tuesday, October 6th, 1970. It is amazing I am still here. I was 10 years old then. And I'm still here. And the world's still here. And you're still here listening to me. Isn't that incredible? When the scientists, the experts told us that this could not be, that we were going to be gone, starved, overpopulated. Well, let's see what this guy has to say. Dr. So-and-so, and I'm sure these guys, well, I'm not sure, but surely they believe what they were saying. Outspoken ecologist to speak. Giving aspirants to cancer victims is what Dr. thinks of current proposals for population control. No real action has been taken to save the environment, he maintains. And it does need saving. I don't disagree with him on that. And he does, okay. This man predicts that the oceans will be as dead as Lake Erie in less than a decade. Well, they're not dead, but we sure have a lot of mercury out there in the fish. You cannot buy fish or get fish anywhere without having a certain amount of mercury in it. And if you eat too much, you will get mercury poisoning. Did you know that? But it's not dead. They managed to survive even though we're polluting the hell out of them. Okay. The DDT in our fatty tissues, and boy, we got a lot of fatty tissues here in the West. The DDT in our fatty tissues has reached levels high enough to cause brain damage and cirrhosis of the liver. Well, there would be a lot of people who might agree that some of us have brain damage nowadays with all these problems, not being able to figure out what a man or a woman is. Some people may look at that as brain damage. I'm not saying it is, but it's a possibility. America will be subject to water rationing by 1974 and food rationing by 1980. Well, he was wrong on that one. But as I said, wouldn't that be a good idea? To ration the food and the water? Maybe not the water, but the food? We need some food rationing here in the U.S. BBW, BBM too, huh? University of California Extension, Riverside, and World Affairs Council. Well, that sounds important and knowledgeable, yes? Of inland Southern California will present the outspoken author of The Population Bomb. My God, there's that population problem again. Well, could that have anything to do with it? Could that have anything to do with what went on in the last 2 or 3 years? And they're talking about that also. Population control. Some people believe it does. I don't know. Tell me what you think in the comments. The population bomb and the hero of the ecology movement tomorrow. He is the hero. This man is the hero of the ecology movement tomorrow. I would put the link in the description, but if I do, and this is linked to something that YouTube doesn't, or that doesn't go along with YouTube guidelines, they'll take it down and I'll get another warning, and I don't want that. I want to be here. I want to talk to you guys. He will speak in the gymnasium on the UCR campus. Okay. What's next? Let's see. Oh my God. Oh my God. The new 1971. The new ice age is coming. Whew. The new ice age. And what is Greta Thunberg talking about? Global warming. California has decided to, or have they made a proclamation, or they're trying to get rid of all combustible engines by 2037 or 8? I don't have the data in front of me. Because of global warming? But yet, here in 1971, the new ice age is coming. U.S. scientists sees new ice age coming. Okay. Washington Post. The Washington Post. Okay, Washington Post staff writer. The world could be as little as 50 or 60 years away from a disastrous new ice age. Leading atmospheric scientists predict. Leading atmospheric scientists. These are the experts that know. Follow the science. Remember, follow the science. Trust the science. And this was written back when? 1971 and 50 or 60 years. Let me see. 71, 81, 91, 2001, 2011, 2021. 50 years. Oh, but you know what? He said maybe 60. So it's possible another 10 years. No, but Greta Thunberg says global warming. And I'm not bashing her. I think she believes in what she's doing. But where she's getting her information is the same place that this information came from. So could it be possible that they're wrong? These guys were wrong, I think, unless in 10 years we have an ice age. But they're talking about warming. So which is it? Let's continue. 50 or 60 years from a disastrous new ice age, a leading atmospheric scientist predicts. Trust the science. Dr. I'm not going to say his name. Of the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. That sounds pretty dang important and smart, doesn't it? Columbia University, we've all heard of that place, says that in the next 50 years that fine dust man constantly puts into the atmosphere by fossil fuel burning, coal, could screen out so much sunlight that the average temperature could drop by 6 degrees. If sustained over several years, 5 to 10, he estimated, such a temperature decrease could be sufficient to trigger an ice age. These conditions, including the ominous exclamation point rare in scientific publication, are printed in this week's issue of the journal Science out today, signed by, and we'll skip the names, co-worker, etc. They are also being presented by, and we'll leave his name out too, International Study of Man's Impact on Climate, now being held in Stockholm. Oh, that's a prestigious place too. As a prelude to a World Environmental Conference there next June. Scientist member of President Nixon's three-man Council on Environmental Quality, said in an interview that these conclusions point up one of the serious problems U.S. and other delegates must address next year. Ice age. Okay, this was serious. We got to address this. We got to do something about it. Kind of reminds you of the global warming deal. We got to do something about this. We got to take serious, immediate action. That's what they said in 71 about an ice age. Now it's global warming. Okay. Yeah. He called this man, it's hard to do this without mentioning names, but I want to keep people's names out of it. A first-rate atmospheric physicist. You can look this up yourself on the internet. Look up false predictions, or not false predictions, but doomsday predictions, or I can't remember. I'll tell you what I put in there when I finish. And you can find this yourself. So you know I'm not just blowing smoke. Okay, this atmospheric physicist whose estimate that fuel dust could drop temperatures by 6 degrees is consistent with estimates I made and others have made. So all these scientists agree that we're going to have an ice age by, when was it? In 50 years, so by now. But if not by now, by the end of this decade. So get your coats out, people. Or should you get your swimsuit out and suntan lotion? Which is it? Ice age, global warming. Ice age, global warming. What do you think? But these are the experts, the scientists. Do I claim to know more than them? No, I don't. But something isn't lining up here. Okay, whether this could cause an ice age within 5 or 50 years or even more. He said, I wouldn't want to guess. Well, he is guessing, isn't he? But he agreed completely with this other man that it's now urgent to start an international network to monitor atmospheric dust. If his calculations prove correct, this man said it may be simply necessary for men to stop most fossil fuel burning, use of coal, oil, natural gas, and automobile gasoline, and switch in the main to nuclear energy. Oh, so back then, they said it was pretty adamant or they were adamant we need to switch to nuclear energy, not electric, because that's a problem too. Because if we use electric, we're not going to have any water. The rivers will run dry, and what are we going to drink, right? Okay, let's go. And switch nuclear. Despite atoms' own disadvantages, the atom's own disadvantage, pollution controls alone, he said, cannot do the job. I think you have to stop the source. Well, they could just eliminate us. Well, population control, they say that's the problem. Although how many acres and acres of land are there in the world that aren't even populated? Think about that one. If you live in the city, you may not believe that. A new ice age would flood the world's coastal cities and further lower temperatures to build up new glaciers that could eventually cover huge areas. But I thought the polar ice caps were melting. Okay. Scientists have long debated whether man's activity is actually heating or cooling the earth. They can't figure that out. Well, is it getting hot or cold? Pretty cold here today. Actually got down below zero here this year. Well, let's see. Depends where you live. Maybe if they study at the equator, they think it's global warming. And if they live up north, like close to like northern Canada, Alaska, they think global cooling is the problem. Maybe that's the deal. Scientists have long debated whether man's activity is okay. A 1970 study of critical environmental problems concluded that this doctor's prediction was impossible to make, yet the area of the greatest uncertainty. That study concluded is our current lack of knowledge of the optical properties of man-made dust in scattering or absorbing. I can't see the bottom here. Oh, they got it blacked out. So there you go. That was back in 1971. The new ice age is coming. So the experts, the scientists say. I hate to do it again, but trust the science. All right, let's go on to this. What is this? 1972, new ice age by 2070. Well, I would say that we're probably going to have that if it wasn't for the global warming. How's that going to work? How can we have global warming and a new ice age at the same time? Global warming if you live at the equator, ice age if you live in the Antarctica. Is that south or north? No. At the polar ice caps, how about that? Oh my God, Department of Geology. This is the Brown University. This paper was written on December 3rd, 1972. Department of Geological Services. It's a little blurred. Let me read it. The President, the White House, Washington, D.C. This is written to the President. Dear Mr. President, aware of your deep concern with the future of the world, we feel obliged to inform you on the results of the scientific, I hear that word a lot nowadays too, conference held here recently. The conference dealt with the past and the future changes of climate and was attended, boy, this has been a thing for a long time. I did not realize, well, I guess I had forgotten. And was attended by 42 top American and European investigators. Hey, let's bring another investigator over here. What is that? What is an investigator? Is that a scientist? We enclose a summary report published in the Science, and further publications are forthcoming in quaternary research. Quaternary research. Quaternary research. I don't know what that means. Well, the main conclusion of the meeting was that a global deterioration of climate.
Hey, I'm leaving.
A global deterioration of climate. That's what happens when you have 6 kids living in the house. Okay, we'll continue. I lost my place. By order of magnitude larger than any hitherto experienced by civilized mankind is a very real possibility, and indeed may be due very soon. The cooling, not warming, but cooling, and this was in 1972, has natural cause, okay, and falls within the rank of processes which produced the last ice age. This is a surprising result based largely on the recent studies of deep sea sediments. Well, okay, let's get some of those deep sea sediments up here. Existing data still do not allow forecast of the precise timing of the predicted development, nor the assessment of man's interference with the natural trends. It could not be excluded, however, that the cooling now underway in the modern northern hemisphere is the start of the expected shift. The present rate of the cooling seems fast enough to bring glacial temperatures in about a century if continuing at the present pace. Well, no need to worry about that now. It's global warming. The practical consequences which might be brought by such developments to existing social institutions are among others. Number one, substantially lowered food production due to the shorter growing seasons and changed rain distribution in the main grain-producing belts of the world, with Eastern Europe and Central Asia to be first affected. Number two, these are the problems that are going to come up because of global cooling. But we don't have to worry about that now because it's getting hot. Number two, increased frequency and amplitude of extreme weather anomalies, such as those bringing floods, snowstorms, killing frost, etc. Well, that sounds quite ominous, doesn't it? Mr. President, with the efficient help of world leaders, let's all get together, world forums. That sounds familiar. The research could be effectively organized and could possibly find the answers to the menace. We hope we find the answers or find a way for someone to make a heck of a lot of money. We hope that your administration will take the decisive steps in this direction as it did with other serious international problems in the past. Meantime, however, it seems reasonable to prepare the agricultural industry for possible alternatives to form reserves. It might also be, it reminds me of Joseph and the famine coming. He told the Pharaoh, store 7 years of grain. But that happened. This didn't. Could it be that the Bible is more true than our scientists today? Well, I don't know about that. You figure that one out. Okay. It might also be useful for administration to take into account that the Soviet Union, those guys over there, huh? Yeah. They taught me that those guys were monsters when I was in school. Well, guess what? They're just like us. I've met some. They're real people. With large scientific teams monitoring the climate change in Arctic and Siberia may already be considering these aspects in its international moves. Best regards, Lamont Doherty Geological Observatory, Department of Geological Sciences. Well, my gosh. It just keeps going. 1974. New ice age coming fast. Why am I telling you guys this? I'm doing this for the young guys, because you older folks like me, if I got any watching, you've heard all this crap before. You've seen it come and go. And if you don't remember, I'm reminding you of it, because I forgot myself all these things. I didn't pay too much attention to this when I was growing up. I was more concerned about nuclear war, because that's the fear that they were impressing us, our generation. That's what they were pushing on us. That the Soviet Union, we were during the Cold War, and the U.S., we're going to just blow the hell out of each other with nuclear warheads. So what's the point in setting goals, having a dream for the future, because there's not going to be one. But here I am, and here you are, and you're probably going to be here too. Regardless of what they tell you about overpopulation, global warming, global cooling, or whatever the agenda is for the mainstream, I'm not sure why they do it. Control, money, profit. The oldest motive in the world is profit. So there you go. That's probably the underlying cause of these things. That's just my opinion. Space satellite. I mean, how are you going to deny space satellites, right? They're always watching us anyway. Do you know that they have satellites powerful enough that if I were reading a newspaper outside, they could read that paper? Think about that. Did you know that? So here we go. I mean, if we can't trust space satellites, who can we trust? Space satellites show new ice age coming fast. This is The Guardian. Tuesday, January 29th, 1974. Man, it's coming fast. Get out your snowshoes and your skis. Snowmobile. You know, you might have believed this in 1976 because 75, 76, 77, right around in here, we had more snow here in the Midwest than we ever had, and colder temperatures too. It got down to 30 below. We had enough snow on the ground that everybody around here, or many people, were buying snowmobiles. They even opened up a place out there called Snow World where you could go out and rent snowmobiles, and they had like jumps and like a motorcycle motocross thing. So this made sense, right? But here we are. Let's see what he has to say. This is by a science correspondent. Worldwide and rapid trends towards a mini ice age are emerging from the first long-term analysis of satellite weather pictures. Of potentially great importance to energy strategies, to agriculture, but barely observable yet in Britain because our weather is strongly buffered by the Atlantic. A preliminary analysis carried out at Columbia University, there's that place again, we've heard about that. It's where all the experts and scientists come from, correct? New York, by the European climatologists, doctors, I'm not going to say their name, indicates that snow and ice cover the earth increased by 12% during 1967 and 1972. So the trend back then in the 70s was global cooling. This appears to be in keeping with other long-term climate changes, all of which suggest that after reaching a climax of warmth between 1935 and 1955, what? No, it can't be. If we had a climax of warmth, that means that's the very top it's going to go. But we're predicting more warmth now, actually too much warmth, global warming, right? So confusing. World average temperatures are now falling, but the rate of increase of snow and ice cover is much faster than would be expected from other trends. That's scary. When was this? That's back in 1974. The technique employed, which was first described in this country last year during a conference at the Climatic Research Unit. Boy, I wonder if I can be a member of that. Hey, I'm a member of the Climatic Research Unit, and I can get people to do things in the world and believe that it's coming to an end. Okay. Research unit at the University of East Anglia, I don't know where that's at, depends on the averaging of the information from the standard and the infrared. That sounds scary. Satellite weather pictures, in spite of the newness of the technique. So they do use those satellites for something other than spying on other countries and you, believe it or not, or at least they say they do. The newness of the technique, the findings are important, and it is a matter of some urgency. My God, they were urgent. Back in 1974, they should be re-examined by other groups, other scientists, other experts. It is particularly important to know whether the Earth's reflectivity is changing. For this is one of the factors in which a change tends to be self-perpetuating until some new worldwide balance is reached. An increase of snow and ice cover coupled with a decrease in cloud or even with no change in cloud cover means that more of the incoming energy from the sun is reflected straight out again. Oh my God, it's not getting to us. Thus, further reducing temperatures. It's getting colder, guys. The Columbia University findings suggest that at present the main changes are not in the general area of winter snow and ice coverage, but in the continuation of coverage later and later into the spring. No more early springs, just forget it. Unless you live in a place where they have no spring, or unless you live in a place like I did in Central America where it's called the land of eternal spring. It's always spring. This appears to be true of both the northern and southern hemispheres. In the highly complex dynamics of world weather patterns, an interconnection of some kind between major events is inevitable. Don't you hate it when they say it's inevitable? That means it's got to happen. 1974. It's going to happen. It's inevitable. It could be, for example, that the extraordinary occurrence of a stationary low-pressure area over Britain with its attendant disastrous flooding is a feature of the overall trend. Well, the Brisbane low pressure area appears to have started life as a normal Pacific cyclonic feature, moving along a normal southeasterly curving track. Well, that's kind of hard to understand. But instead of recurving towards the southwest, it was blocked by an anticyclone to the south of Australia. It happens that blocking anticyclones may play an important role in the characteristics of weather in the northern hemisphere and account for some adverse changes in our own climate. Well, get rid of those anticyclones. Sheesh, gotta get rid of those, eliminate those. I've never heard that word before, but hey, I'm not a scientist, I'm not an expert. What do I know? The trends appear to be cyclic, fairly long-term, and extremely important. It is therefore surprising that in Britain, at least, support for scientific analysis of the history of climate is almost non-existent. Well, but we need to support this new movement of global warming. But people wouldn't support what he was talking about, global cooling, back then. I wonder if people are thinking maybe, that just maybe, the experts and the scientists might be mistaken again? Could it be? No. The trends appear to be cyclic, fairly long-term, and extremely important. It is therefore, I read it already, but Nottingham at least is fighting off the advancing ice age. Well, you fight that advancing ice age. Get the flamethrowers out there. Let's just melt it away. But we don't have to worry about that because global warming is going to take care of that. Some of this stuff is almost nonsensical. Is that the word? Nonsensical? Yes. But Nottingham at least is fighting off the advancing ice age. Oh, thank God for Nottingham. Call out the Nottingham. Is that where Robin Hood was from? Robin Hood was from Nottingham? Maybe that's another old folklore story I'm thinking of. Grass is growing and seeds are sprouting there now. Well, thank God for that. Here it comes. The artificial spring has been created by underground hot water pipes. Well, let's just get those underground hot water. No, we can't do that. Here we go. Let's get underground cooling pipes spread out all over the world, and then we can just forget about this global warming. There's the answer right there. Yeah. Grass is growing and ice seeds are sprouting. Oh, that's okay. The artificial spring has been created by the underground hot water pipes, which now carry heat to thousands of homes in the city. They solved the problem. As an experiment, city officials scattered grass seeds on the wasteland. Here, let's get this grass to grow. The old sower, just taken out of the bag on his side, like the old time guys. Yeah. The central wasteland near the central library and grass is shooting up there and in other areas where the pipes are. Well, they solved that problem. Boy, and it goes on and on. 1974. And I'm probably going to stop here, but I think you guys get the message. We may continue this on another day. But they're predicting an ice age till 1974, and this may continue. But here's the time. Archive, 1923 to the present. Science. We hear that word, science. Trust the science. Trust the science. We should make that into a mantra. Trust the science. Another ice age, Monday, June 24th, 2 days before my 14th birthday. No, 4 days before my 14th birthday. I can't believe I'm still here. I might want to read this one too. Am I going to do one more? I'm going to read one more. Let's do one more. I'm enjoying this so much. Monday, June 24th, 1974. Incredible. In Africa, drought continues for the 6th consecutive year. And I think they do have some droughts over there. Do you know that, according to history, Egypt once was the Nile was all fertile grasslands, and now it's a barren desert? Do you think it was because we were using combustible engines back then? Oh, no, that's right. We didn't have them back then. It was all the coal we were burning. No, it wasn't that either. What was it? Could it be that the climate changes naturally in the world through the centuries, through the millennia? No, that couldn't be, because then we would have no control over it. nor could we use it to control the people. The fear. Yeah, we've seen how that fear worked in the last few years, didn't we? That's a great source of control. Okay, let's go. In Africa, drought continues for the sixth consecutive year, adding terribly to the toll of famine victims. I believe that was true, but I don't believe it was caused by anything we've done. During 1972, record rains in parts of the U.S., Pakistan, and Japan caused some of the worst flooding in centuries. In Canada's wheat belt, a particularly chilly and rainy spring has delayed planting and may well bring a disappointingly small harvest. Rainy Britain, on the other hand, has suffered from uncharacteristic dry spells the past few springs. A series of unusually cold winters has gripped the America far west, while New England and Northern Europe have recently experienced the mildest winters within anyone's recollection. Could it possibly be that these are just natural, normal climate changes that happen in the world and have been happening throughout the millennia, the billions of years that the world has been here? Could it possibly be? Is that a possibility? Surely not. As they review the bizarre, you know what they say about my state? If you live in Missouri, if you don't like the weather, just stick around. It'll change. It can be 20 degrees here in the morning and 80 in the afternoon, or it can be 70 or 80 in the morning and 20 in the afternoon. It can be 80 one day and below zero the next day. It's rare, but it happens. The changing of weather here is just crazy. As they review the bizarre and unpredictable weather pattern of the past several years, a growing number of scientists are beginning to suspect that many seemingly contradictory meteorological fluctuations are actually part of a global climate upheaval. Sounds kind of scary, doesn't it? However, widely, the weather varies from place to place and time to time. When meteorologists take an average of temperatures around the globe, they find that the atmosphere has been growing gradually cooler. 1974. The scientists, the experts. For the past 3 decades, the trend shows no indication of reversing. It's getting cold, boys. It's getting cold. Climatological Cassandras are becoming, I'll have to look that word up, increasingly apprehensive for the weather aberrations they are studying may be the harbinger of another ice age. 1974. The experts, the scientists. Telltale signs are everywhere. They're everywhere. Hey, there's one over there. Hey, there's another telltale sign there. I see him. I saw him. I was there. I remember. Yeah. From the unexpected persistence and thickness of pack ice in the waters around Iceland to it's all over the world, to the southward migration of a warmth-loving creature like the armadillo from the Midwest. We got those up here now. Since the 1940s, the mean global temperature has dropped about 2.7 degrees Fahrenheit. Although that figure is at best an estimate. It could be worse. Remember that, it could be worse. He didn't say that, I did. That's what they throw in the news. It is supported by other convincing data. When climatologist George, I can't say his name, of Columbia University, boy, we hear a lot from those guys, Columbia University. Lamont Doherty Geological Observatory and his wife, is that a man? Oh, I said another name. Oh well, he's probably passed on by now. And his wife analyzed satellite weather data for the Northern Hemisphere. They found that the area of the ice and snow cover had suddenly increased by 12% in 1971. 12%. But I'm sure that's melted off by now because global warming is the talk of the day. And the increase has persisted ever since. It must have stopped sometime though, right? Areas of Baffin Island in the Canadian Arctic, for example, were once totally free of any ice, any snow in the summer. Now they are covered year-round. Evidence, there it is right there, evidence, solid, tangible evidence that everything is getting colder, that we're going to be covered with ice within, what'd they say? It's going to be finished by the end of this decade, so. But how's that going to work with global warming? It's not congruent, is it? I don't know. You tell me what you think. Okay, that's it for today. I could go on and on to the next one. Great peril to life's gas pears away. The Earth's ozone. I do remember that one. Ozone. My God, that was in 1974. We're going to be dead and gone. A scientist told Congress Wednesday that the Earth appears to be on the verge of a period of great peril to life on this globe because of the threats to the ozone layer from modern technology. I'm not even going to go into that one, because I just heard the other day that the ozone's in good shape now. But it was going fast in 1974, 4 days before my 14th birthday. My God, I don't see any holes in it anymore. Well, we won't go into that today, but as I said, the whole purpose of this, because I'm here to inspire, enlighten, and I'm going to enlighten you that these scientists and these experts have been predicting gloom and doom since I was born and before. And it doesn't come to pass. So don't base your life's decisions on what they're saying. Now, is that to say all scientists make predictions and figure things out that aren't true? No, I'm not saying that. But don't believe everything you hear. And don't buy into it and don't promote it just because the experts supposedly say it's true. Because I've just showed you this. This was what the media was back then. They're pushing this stuff on the world, and none of it came to pass. Now we're talking just the opposite, and they're pushing that just as hard. What's true? I'll leave that for you to decide. But look back throughout history. They tell us in school, whether that's true or not, to study history or you're doomed to repeat it. Is this a repetition of history? Global warming now? Is global cooling then? The ozone's going away? Now, the only repetition of history is if everybody gets on the bandwagon and starts going along with it because they believe that this is true. Who do you trust? Well, that's up to you to decide. Don't trust me. You can find these things yourself. I will. Let me go back now. I'll go back and I'll tell you where you can find this, because I'm not going to put the link in the description because it may be connected with something that is against the agenda of whoever sets the agenda. And I want to follow the guidelines of YouTube here because they give me a platform to speak. But you can find this. What did I put in? Okay. Put in 50 years of failed eco-apocalyptic predictions. That's 50 years of failed eco-apocalyptic predictions. I may put that in the title of the or description. So anyway, thanks for joining me here today. I hope this has given you some hope. I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to make this a positive thing, and I want you to see that don't be afraid to set goals and have a vision for the future, because we've always had these doomsayers, these doomsday predictors. Okay, and if it happens, there's nothing you can do about it. Of course, you can take care of, don't throw trash out the window. I mean, try to be as clean as you can. Do your part, because changing the world begins in changing you or changing me. Everybody wants to change the world, or a lot of people do, but they don't want to start where they need to start, and that's within themselves. I can change myself, and that in itself will help change the world. We'll never have peace in the world till we all have peace within ourselves. We can't make people get along. So I'm going to cut it off there. If you'd like to get my help personally, marksinspiration.com is my website, or you can contact me directly through my email. I appreciate you guys joining me. We are up to 1,713 subscribers. I'd like to impress a few more people. Let's make 2,000 by July. So if you can help me do that by sharing this with a friend. And today's been great. I've enjoyed this, and I hope it's given you some hope for the future. Shut off the news. Don't listen to it. It's like negativity. What you need to know will be given to you. So I'm out of here. Take care. Have a wonderful day.